Hello, hello, hello. Dagic here. I'm your host, Jeremy Hayes. We're going to do a special edition of Will I Put It in My Deck? It's been a while since I've done one of these, just because the last set, Bloomburrow, was so cool. I didn't put any cards from it in my deck, really. A few, I think I did a couple cards, but I ended up building 2 whole new decks out of that set. And then there was Duskmourn here. Like I wasn't super excited about Duskmourn when it first came out. When it was announced, I didn't get it. Is it based off of an 80s movie? Is it not? Is it a specific movie? I still don't know. But I wasn't excited for it. Especially not like I was about Bloomburrow, right? But it came out and it's just been crazy, right? I was going to do a Will I video when they originally did a couple cards, spoiled a couple cards. So I had like 3 or 4 cards ready to talk about. Time got away from me, and they spoiled more enchantments and more enchantments and more enchantments and doors and constellation with extra steps, and so it got crazy. So instead of doing like a Will I video where I just talk about one deck and a couple cards that I might put in that deck, we're going to talk about all the cards, all the enchantment cards specifically, that I would put into an Enchantress deck, into one of my Enchantress decks. We're going to split it up into a couple of different parts just to keep you, the viewer, engaged. So this is part 1, hopefully only of 3. And the decks we're really going to talk about that I might be putting these cards into are Enchantments, which is Tuvasa the Sunlit, Absentments, which is Narsi the Fable Singer, Sithis Harvest Hand, which is in Harvestments, and then a new one from Bloomburrow, Enmaulments, which is Wildseer Devouring Maul. I forget his full name, but he's a cool 6/6 wolf with trample that cascades when I play enchantments. So, with that being said, let's get started here. Will I put it in my deck? First card, Nowhere to Run. The answer is yes. The answer is yes. I will put this card in my deck. It is going to go in Absentments. It is efficiently costed at 2 mana, 1 and a black. It has Flash, so it's instant speed removal on an enchantment, which is just perfect. When Nowhere to Run enters the battlefield, target creature an opponent controls gets -3/-3 until end of turn. So it's not a Path to Exile, right? It's not a Destroy. It's not X. It's not. Yeah, it's -3/-3. It's not going to kill your 4/4s. But -3/-3 is not an insignificant. 3 is not an insignificant number, right? That kills a lot of stuff. It gets around Indestructible, which is fantastic. That Temur Sabertooth combo that they're trying to go off with, you just put this thing out there in response to what would have been Dockside, right? Because that's a whole thing. We'll get into that at a different time. And kill Temur, because I'm pretty sure Temur's a 4/3. Correct me if I'm wrong. So this is just a solid removal spell on an enchantment at instant speed. Fantastic. I love it. There's a second paragraph. Creatures your opponents control can be the targets of spells and abilities as though they didn't have hexproof. Ward abilities of those creatures don't trigger. It gets around ward. That is perfect. I love it. Like, I hate ward so much. I hate it. It's just because it's on so many different cards. That don't need it. Like Avoja does not need ward. Miram does not need ward. They're so good. And this card, like, they're so good already. Why do you need ward on them? It doesn't make sense. This card gets around that. And I just love that little bit of tech on there. In the Narsi deck that I'm going to put, that I did put this in. The idea of that deck is to sacrifice enchantments, draw cards, bring them back, sacrifice them again, bring them back, and that's kind of what the idea of that deck. So this card is going to be doing a lot of work. A 2 mana comes out early, it kills a dork, an important tiny creature. It's great. I love it. It's in the deck. I was talking to the other dad, Dagic, and he said it was interesting that this didn't go after Shroud. And my take on that, it doesn't go after Shroud, is because Wizards is trying to get away from Shroud. right? They saw Shroud as a mistake. They had plenty of opportunities. This set included to reprint Argothian Enchantress, just because there's so many enchantments in this set. They could have printed Argothian Enchantress. I know there's a set recently, they were back on Dominaria, or it was a core set, I forget exactly what, but that's when they should have printed it. And they're not, right? They gave us Sithis instead. There's your 2-drop Enchantress for you. Play that. It doesn't have Shroud. But they're getting away from Shroud. They're not going to print it. New cards are coming out, aren't going to have it. And that's what I think, right? So this card has no reason to say Shroud. So it gets around Hexproof, and then the fixed Hexproof, which is wood. So, love it. Next card, Shard Mage's Rescue for 1 white. Another flash enchantment. This one's an aura. As long as Shard Mage's Rescue ended this turn, enchanted creature has Hexproof, it gives the enchanted creature +1/+1. So I'm probably not going to put this in any of my decks, right? I'm just not. It's going to get cut so many times. I don't know what's going on with the art here. Is the mouse with the power level scouter getting saved from the scary spaghetti scarecrow man? Is he destroying the scary spaghetti scarecrow man? I don't know. But I like it because it's an interesting design. You get all these green Tamio's safekeeping, Legolas's quick reflexes. These quick little green one spell, one mana cost cards that come in instant speed and save a thing. I'm gonna save my important piece here, and that is this. That is what this card is, just on an enchantment. So it's neat. It's cool. I like the design. If there weren't a bunch of other enchantments out there that I could already play, I would be playing this. I wish it was almost a common, because then you could play. It'd be a fantastic in Pauper, I think. It'd be so nice in Pauper. As just a quick little, and if you're playing, so I play a Wilson Far Traveler Pauper deck, Pauper EDH deck, and this would just be great. And then just a quick little saves Wilson, keeps him around, gives him +1/+1, works well with the other enchantment and the other auras in the deck. But sadly, the answer for this one is no. I'm not going to put it in any of my decks. But it is cool. I do like it. This guy, Fear of Imposters. Again, really neat design. All these flash enchantments are just cool. This guy's crazy looking. So many mouths. He's 1 and 2 blue for 3/2 enchantment creature Nightmare. When he enters, counter target spell. Its controller Manifest Dread. That player looks at the top 2 cards of their library. So Manifest Dread is a new mechanic. That player looks at the top 2 cards of their library, puts one on the battlefield face down as a 2/2, the other one into their graveyard. And if it's a creature card, you can flip it up. I want to put this card into enchantments. I really do, just because it's an enchantment counterspell. It's neat. It's cool. I like it. I'm probably not, though, just because I already have better counterspells. Spoiler alert for part 3, though. It is going to go in a different deck that has not been mentioned. And if you know anything about Duskmourn, you know the card I'm talking about. The deck I'm talking about. But again, great card. If you want to just run enchantments in the deck, Fear of Imposters is fantastic. If you're gonna pass go kind of effects with enchantments, it's great. These flash with Tuvasa are great because I can play my enchantment on my turn and then play one of these flash guys on a different turn, and Tuvasa will draw me a card for both of them. So I do have Wilderness Reclamation in that deck, so that would be great with this card, right? Pay for Wilderness Reclamation, draw my card, untap, counter a spell, draw my card. So the play pattern there is good. Even if it's not Wilderness Reclamation, I just have the mana open somehow. This is nice. This is really nice, and I want to. If I get frisky, I'll stick it in. I'll pick up another one, and I'll stick it in Tuvasa. So it's definitely on there. Definitely a maybe. I didn't notice that he had like half of his face was regular skin colored before. It's creeping me out now. I don't like it. The card's good. I like the card. One thing I want to say about the card. It's comparable to the other 3-drop three costing counter spells we have. Cancel, right? So it's worse than cancel because it manifests dread, and cancel just counters a spell without giving my opponent anything. It could be better than cancel in the fact that it's a 3/2 blocker creature, and it has all the enchantment synergies along with it. Like I would definitely run this over cancel in an enchantment deck, easy. What's the other one? There's two more. The one exiles, which is good. And the last one, you also have, the last one I'm thinking about anyway, there's plenty of 3-drop counter spells. But the last one I'm thinking about also has the ability to stifle, which that card's, I like that card. But this is what I would compare those cards to. If you're just trying to run it in a regular deck. Maybe a nightmare deck or an enchantment deck are the two decks you would choose this card over a counter spell, right? You'd pay the 1 extra mana to get that nightmare or enchantment synergies, right? Cool card though. Fear of Isolation. This guy, oh my god, I need to stop blowing these cards up and looking at it on a really big computer screen. I did not notice the face in that thing's mouth before. Oh, that's terrifying. I noticed the arms. The arms didn't bother me. The face inside the mouth bothers me so much. It's just not good. Anyway, sorry, I didn't notice that before. Fear of Isolation. 1 and a blue. So again, efficient. 1 and a blue. Great. As an additional cost to cast this spell, return a permanent you control to its owner's hand. Flying. I wish this card had flash, right? I wish it doesn't need flying. How thing's on the ground? How is it going to fly with all those arms coming out of its wings? It can't fly. Arms are heavy. That's why they have wings, right? Bones and stuff. I don't know. But if this thing had flash, you could just use it to save a permanent, right? What the white enchantment that I was talking about does. This saves the permanent. Well, it's better than the white enchantment, and why so the answer is yes, I am running this in Tuvasa. In my embankment decks, and it combos with another card from the set, from Duskmourn, that I will talk about in part 3, which is also in Tuvasa. But outside of the combo, right, enchantment decks are essentially storm decks. You just want to keep going. You want to keep casting your enchantment spells. And yes, while I run 35 to 40 enchantments in all my enchantment decks, I have had plenty of times where I'm sitting there with no enchantments in my hand. This thing returns an enchantment to my hand. I cast it, I get all my cool enchantress benefits, I return as a part of the cost, so even if you counter this thing, which why would you, I return a thing to my hand, usually a 1-drop cheap enchantment, that I then cast again and get to have all those effects again. So it puts another card in my hand, it lets me recast it, draws me more cards, gets me more value, and plus the combo. So it's just, I just wish it had flash. Like the other ones all had flash. Why does this one not have flash? Because then it could just be this I'm going to save my enchantment thing for when you're going to go destroy it, and then I'm going to replay it. All right, so that's would be amazing. Take away flying, give it flash. But this is in the deck. I did pick this up. I cannot stop looking at this thing's face. I'm going to the next card. Look at this little guy. Looking for little potato masher grenades here. That's what that looks like. Optimistic Scavenger for 1 white. So there's a bunch of these kinds of cards too, and we'll get to that in a second when we play these kinds of cards. Human Scout 1/1 Eerie. So Eerie is a new mechanic that it's just Constellation with extra steps. And the reason why I call it extra steps is because it has the room mechanic on it. And we'll talk about rooms in part 3. Whenever an enchantment you control enters, and whenever you fully unlock a room, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. Fantastic. So this is yes. This is in Tuvasa. What I mean by these kinds of cards is there are a bunch of cards in the set that do a thing, at least a similar thing, that there's already a card out there that does the thing, except that card's an enchantment. So the comparable card for this one is Calyx, not the Planeswalker, the creature. That's an enchantment with Constellation. When it enters, a +1/+1 counter gets put on a creature. It also copies enchantments. I always forget that it has the ability to copy enchantments, which is really cool. So this one costs 2 less. It can come out first turn. right? And then it gets around that issue where you're sitting there with your enchantments that like you want to get your exploration out, you want to get your land tax out, you want to get these enchantments out that have value, but your enchantress in your hand costs 3. And so you wait until 4th turn to play any of this stuff because you want to get the value, the best value you can out of your enchantments. You don't always wait. That's not you got 3 lands in hand. You play the exploration first turn, get ahead. But that's kind of what happens sometimes. As you sit there, you like I want to wait. You at least have to weigh that option, right? That decision. Do I wait to play the enchantress, take a turn off, essentially do nothing, and then play my 3 enchantments to draw 3 cards? Or do I get my enchantments out now and start and have some value? This gets around that because it costs 1. You put it down first turn, and you play an enchantment second turn. Put a plus account. You start getting that value already right off the bat, and so it is nice. And so I did pick this guy up. This human scout here is now in Tuvasa. I've redone Tuvasa almost not completely, a lot. To have more of these kinds of payoffs. So it's in Tuvasa. It's in embankments. So yes, will I put it in my deck? Yes, I have. And I have this little cutie. I'm glad I blew him up. I like this guy. He's a crab that's also a skull, and he's scrabbling. He's playing Scrabble. He's a scrabbling skull crab. He's a cutie. Look at him. Look at this little guy. 0/3, so a good blocker. Crab skeleton. Whenever an enchantment you control enters, whenever you fully unlock a room, target player mills 2 cards. The card here that it's comparable to is Psychic Corrosion, right? 2 and a blue. Whenever you draw a card, each player mills 2 cards. So the effect there is the same. Right? The idea is to mill out your opponents. Yes. The answer is yes. I'm putting this is in my deck. This has gone in my deck. He's a little cutie, just scrabbling around. Trying to fit through doorways that he can't. Oh, he's so silly. He can't get through that door. He's too wide. Look at him. But he can't. He doesn't know. He doesn't know how wide the door is. He's got no eyeballs. But he's fantastic. You can, again, same as the last one. He comes down early. You start milling the non-graveyard player out right away. And he combos off, or you will win the game. So that's the other guy, the +1/+1 counter. He doesn't win the game if you combo off and can play infinite enchantments. You have to have creatures that can attack. You have to have creatures that can connect. The skull crab here, you just mill everybody out and pass the turn, right? Yeah, you might run into Kozilek, which will shuffle it in, but what are you gonna do? You got 2 others out. So he's in the deck. He is in embankments in Tuvasa as a win con. I love the little cutie. Look at him, just trying to get through the door. Just wants to come say hi. Great, love it. This thing, again, one of the things that I do not want to blow up as a card. Is that a flashlight in its hand in the back? That's not scary, but the eyes and the smile I didn't notice before. Silent Hall Creeper. 1 and a blue. He's an enchantment creature horror for 1/1. He can't be blocked. When he deals combat damage to a player, choose one that hasn't been chosen. Put 2 +1/+1 counters on him, draw a card, or he becomes a copy of another creature you control. So a lot of value there, a lot of cool. It comes down efficiently. You get a copy that's 2 bigger, right? You draw the card first, right? Then you put the counters on them, and then you make a copy of hopefully an enchantress, right? That's the goal here, is to make a copy of an enchantress. So that's 2 bigger than it should be. The answer is no, unfortunately, no. It's too slow, I want to say. I guess it's if you could, because you have to choose one is the deal here, right? Like you can't, it doesn't say you may choose one. So you have to, if you hit him, you have to make him a copy of another target creature you control. So the only creature you have out is legendary, you make him a copy, you got to kill it. That's no fun. If it was like choose one that hasn't been chosen last turn, so you could just be like draw a card, counters. That would be cool. But no, I'm not putting him in any of the decks I've mentioned yet. He is going into the surprise card, the surprise deck that I'm building from the set. That again, you should know about if you've watched the set and know this is about enchantments. But it was a cool card. It was interesting. He can't be blocked, which is nice. Works well with Infect if you want to give him Infect somehow. And the copying thing is cool. I've never been a huge fan of copying in Enchantress decks. Because the question is like, why is that not just another like a different enchantment, right? Like if it's an enchantment that's good enough to copy, I mean, you'd want to copy it, right? But it just doesn't seem like a good option. Like Calyx isn't in any of my decks because he copies stuff. It's because of the constellation. It makes my stuff bigger, and I can go infinite and make things infinitely big. And so that's why he's in the deck, right? Not because he can copy. It's a cool bonus. And Taku, Springhawk and Taku, I forget what he's called, but he you can pay 2 and not convoke, but you can play him as an aura on a creature, and then you play a land, you can pay 2 and make a copy of the creature that he's attached to. He's in there because you can do that, or you can just play him, get a good value out of enchantments, and then play lands. If you're playing cards like Exploration, Dry the Assyrian Grove, you get extra little blockers, which is always good. So he's in there not to copy. You know, I don't run Astrid's Invocation in any of my decks. The one that copies and then comes out. I don't run the Court Vantress that can copy stuff. It's just, why is this not just a different enchantment? Is my question, because there are so many good ones. So the answer is no for him, for this crazy, quiet hall creeper dude. I don't know if that's a wings behind him or not. Don't like him. He's not going in the deck though, but not because he looks creepy. Baelmark Leech. I like this card. This is a good card. Again, so the comparable card here is, I forget the name of the card now. It's 2 and a black, Constellation. Whenever an enchantment enters the battlefield, each opponent loses 1 life. Grim. I can't believe I forget the name of the card. Is it in this pile? Oh, Grim Guardian. It's Grim Guardian. Grim Guardian is the name of the card. This leech though, he's a leech. He looks like he's an angry leech, a big leech if that's a human-sized skull next to him. 1 and a black for a 2/2. Whenever an enchantment with Eerie, whenever an enchantment you control enters in a room and unlocked, each opponent loses 1 life. So again, you go infinite with your enchantments. With him, you win the game. Right? You don't have to connect. You just win. So he's cool. He costs 1 less than Grim Guardian, so that's something to consider when you're playing these kinds of cards. But again, he's not an enchantment. And we'll go through a couple other ones. There's one later on that I do really like. If it costs 1 less, or it was an enchantment, I would love it. I'd be slotting in the deck right away. But he's cool. You go infinite with any kind of enchantment, loop, Omniscience, Molting Skin, Broken Fall, win the game there. That's Sultai, which there were Sultai enchantment commanders in this set. There's also Sanctum Weaver. This is for any of the other ones. The Skull Crab, the Scavenger Guy, anything with Constellation really. Opalescence and Parallax Wave will get you infinite Constellation triggers, Eerie triggers. Sanctum Weaver, Penum's Umbra, Aura, Feed from the Rio, and Gauntlets of Light will all do it too. Infinite mana, so you can recast your Broken Skin, Molting Fall, Finest Hour, not Finest Hour. There's a set of enchantments, auras. You pay 1 to play it, they do a thing, and you can pay 1 to return them to your hand. And so you get infinite mana, and you're casting them. So this would do that. You'd win on any of those infinite effects. There's a black one, there's a blue one, there's a green one. The green one gives reach, but it's not in there because it's good. It's in there for the combo. The white one's actually good. The white one gives protection from a color. I forget what they're all called. If you know what they're called right now, Whip Silk, I think, is the green one. Pay 1 green, play it, gives you a creature reach. Pay 1, return it to your hand. Yeah, it doesn't work with Omniscience because you have to pay to return it, which is why you play Broken Skin or Molting Skin or Broken Fall. They're the same exact card with Omniscience because you can just pop them back to your hand as the ability. But I like him. He will probably not go into Enchantress just because, not Enchantress, into Absentments, just because there's another card that I really, really, really like. We're going to talk about that set of cards in part 2. That card immediately went into that deck. Spoiler. And so this one, Grim Guardian's also already in that deck. So it's just too much for. It's a lot of redundancy. It's not an enchantress enchantment. It may go in later, just because it is good. It's not in there right now, but it's definitely a good card. If you run this in an enchantress deck, you're not doing the wrong thing. And then there's this guy. Ooh, this guy. It doesn't need flash. Entity Tracker, 2 and a blue. Eerie. Whenever an enchantment you control enters, and every you like a room, draw a card. So this is the first blue enchantress we've ever gotten. It is in enbandments. I slotted it in right away. Any enchantress that has an ETB trigger, like this one, like Citizen Champion and Eidolon of Blossoms are both constellation effects. Ooh, beautiful, wonderful, love it. So does this one. This is a constellation effect, right? It's eerie. It's not really constellation, but it's eerie. It's ETB. Perfect. I think I slotted out Mesa, Verdurn, or Satyr Enchanter. I forget which one exactly. They're all pretty much the same card, just color coded differently. Just because this one is another ETB one. I love it. It's great. Put in any enchantress deck that runs blue. Do it. The answer is yes. Absolutely yes. Give him flying, and the other guy that I was talking about, flash. Flip those things. I don't know why he has flash. Why do I gotta flash this guy in? When would I flash him in? Huh? End of turn, make sure no one removes him. I guess so. But, cool, I guess. I still love him. Great. Blue Enchantress, give it to me. Wonderful. Gremlin Tamer. White and a blue for a 2/2. Eerie. Whenever an enchantment enters, or whenever you unlock a room, create a 1/1 red gremlin creature token. So there's a lot of these effects out there. You have Historian's Boon, Archon of Sun's Grace, Ajani's Chosen, Sigiled Empty Throne, Hallowed Haunting. This is the cheapest one for 2. All those cards that I mentioned cost at least 4. This one costs 2. So it's great. It is in Tuvasa. Right off the bat, in Tuvasa. It's just good. It's cheap. It gets around that whole, do I play my payoffs or my enchantments first? Because it costs 2, it comes down early. And third turn, you can start playing enchantments and start getting value off of stuff. So I like this card. It would be great if it was an enchantment. I get that. I get why it's not. Right? Archon of Sun's Grace is not an enchantment. And again, it's the eerie. The fact that all these things are eerie makes it so much better, right? Cast is great. Like when you cast an enchantment. But eerie just gives it so many more. There's more potential there for combos when you just have to have the thing enter the battlefield. Like this combos with Enchanted Evening. Just because the 1/1 that comes in, like you have this out, you play Enchanted Evening, and you automatically get infinite creatures. You got to find a way to stop it, or you just drew the game because you can't stop what's happening. There's no point does it stop itself. Literally infinite red gremlins. So you have to find a way to blow up the Gremlin Tamer or blow up the Enchanted Evening you just played at instant speed. But it's great. It's in the deck. Love it. Man, that's a little cutie there holding the flashlight too. Not as cute as our Skull Crab though. The only thing as cute as our Skull Crab is Segovian Angel, the little 1/1 angel. That's the only thing as cute as the Skull Crab. Anyway, Ghostly Dancer. So this is the one I was just talking about a second ago, where if it cost 1 less or if it was an enchantment, I would right off the bat in the deck. All right, so it's 3 and 2 white, flying. When it enters, return an enchantment card from your graveyard to a hand, or unlock a locked door of a room you control. That's cool, but it's a not ghostly prison. It's a Eternal Witness for enchantments. We've had this effect before. 5 is overcosted for that effect, but it also has Eerie. Whenever an enchantment you control enters, and whenever you fully unlock a room, create a 3/1 white spirit creature token with flying. Like, that's great. And I understand why it costs 5, right? Because it does both things. It gets you an enchantment back, and then it also makes you these 3/1s. Like, that's not a small creature. It's a 3/1 flying. It's great. This 2/5 has flying. If it was, why couldn't they make this a Glimmer, right? A Glimmer is a creature type that's in this set, Why couldn't this be a Glimmer? Enchantment creature Glimmer. It would just go on the deck. Like this is this better than Sigil of the Empty Throne? I mean, probably, because it has the recursion on it, and it's ETB, not cast. I mean, if your goal is to make infinite creatures, them being 3/1s or 4/4s doesn't really matter. This is a creature though, so it dies easier than Sigil of the Empty Throne. When you play this, you don't get any benefits. You've played your Enchantress, you've played your Gremlin Tamer, then you play Sigil of the Empty Throne, you draw a card, make a dude. None of that happens with this guy. You get a guy, but you get an enchantment back, great, that's good. It's not a bad card, that's the problem. It's not bad, it's good. It's a good card. It's not going in the deck though. And there's no deck I'm putting it in. I'm not paying, like I said, the storm decks. Enchantment decks are storm decks. You want to go off. I'm not paying 5 for this. I want to. I want to though. I'm just not. It's a good card though. I'm not crapping on the card at all. It's great design. It does 2 very relevant things. I'm just not playing it. Yeah. Next. Inquisitive Glimmer. See, this thing's a Glimmer. Why couldn't the last one be a Glimmer? So we've had a couple of effects like this. This is a white and a blue Fox Glimmer for a 2/3. Enchantment spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. Unlock cost you pay cost 1 less. So that's cool. That interacts with the doors pretty well. This is just a Azorius Junkai Naturalist, which is fantastic. No complaints. I'm not running it in embankments, whereas the only one I could run it in. I am running it in the new special spoiler card that's going to come out in part 3 when I tell you about that, just because I'm trying to do a thing there, which I'll talk about later. But I could run this. I could easily run this in embankments as a 2-drop to make things cost less. It's an enchantment itself. It's good. It's a good card. I love it. I might end up picking up another one to throw in there to make things cost 1 less. Because the thing is, you bunch of 2-cost enchantments, make them cost 1. It's really good. 3-cost enchantments now cost 2. You're doubling your mana. You're increasing your mana by 1/3, which is still really good at that point. So great effect, great card. I love that it's an enchantment creature. Right, these are the other 2 that make your enchantments cost 1 less that I didn't mention are not enchantments, which makes them not as good to put in an enchantment deck. So love it. No issues here with this card. I want to play it in Tuvasa. I'm not. I am playing it somewhere else. So yeah. This guy, that art is just weird. Reminds me of I forget the card name, so I'm not going to talk about it. Victor Velgoth's Satchel. That's not Satchel. 1 a green, a white, 1 a green, 1 a white, and a black. Human Warlock for 3/3. Just eerie. Whenever an enchantment you control enters, and whenever you fully unlock a room, surveil 2. If it's the first time it's resolved this turn. Second time, each opponent discards a card. Third time, put a creature card from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. Really cool. Really cool. I like it. I didn't pick one up yet. I want to. I read it again, and it just does a lot. It only does it 3 times, though. Right? You can only play 3 enchantments in a turn for it to do the stuff, which isn't hard to do. Like, that's not... Like, it's not like, oh, you got it. It's going to be so hard to get a creature back from your graveyard. It's not. It's going to be harder to get a creature in the graveyard than it is going to play 3 enchantments in a go. It's just, Surveil 2 is good, right? Because you could put 2 cards in the graveyard. This is I'm considering this card for enchantments, right? For Narcy. It's not an enchantment, right? Again, that's kind of knocking it. It is a unique effect where it puts cards in the graveyards. It's card advantage in the fact that I'm taking cards away from each opponent, right? They've all discarded a card. Now they have 1 card less than I would have. And then it recurs a creature. So you have all your enchantment creatures now that they've been printing out. That's something heavily they've been doing. It's good. I like it. You can also run it as your commander and just run Orzhov enchantments, which I've always wanted to do. What's the guy that came out? the lettuce. He has he's an experience. His Orzhov version is an experience counter guy. Play an enchantment, get an experience counter, then you pay 3 to put out a XX creature, equal to the amount of experience counters on him. So that's gotta be cool as a commander too, right? You just fill the deck with enchantments. Again, he puts the stuff in the graveyard himself with the surveil, and it says from a graveyard. I just noticed that creature card from a graveyard. So his first 2 effects put stuff in the graveyard, and then you can get them back. That's actually really good. I didn't realize I said a graveyard. I like that. I like that a lot, actually. I might actually just crap, son of a bitch. I want to build this guy now too, because that's neat. He just again, any card that says when you enchantment do this is great. This guy says when you enchantment do this, then this, and then this. So it's cool. It's neat. It's like an opposite Tuvasa, right? There's something different every time you play an enchantment, and it's eerie, so it's ETB. So you can yeah. There's a lot of good options here, and it's a turn. So if you got a lot of that flash stuff, it's in blue though. Can you get flash in Orzhov? I don't know. Let me know in the comments if this is this flash. How would you get this guy to trigger without artifacts? I mean, play enchantments, we don't play artifacts. They're just not in the wheelhouse. How would you get this guy to go off each time in each table rotation? I like him. He's cool. I don't have many decks. I just thought he was a very unique card. Really cool to look at. And consider build. He is an engine and a payoff, but not like a really huge one, right? They're like search for a creature, put it in your graveyard. So I like him. And then this guy, Fear of Lost Teeth. I'm sorry, I blew the card up for the first time, and now I'm actually looking at what he is. And he's a mouth with souls inside of him and the arms on the table. I get that he's a dentist kind of thing. I get that. But 1 black for a 1/1. Whenever he dies, it deals 1 damage to any target, and you gain 1 life. Absentments would go in this. The answer is no, I'm not putting this into Absentments, into Narcy Fablesinger. Just because I would do this to let him go infinite. You go infinite with this card, you win the game. How do you go infinite with this card, you ask? Well, Solemnity and what's the guy? the guy that gives Undying. Oh, what's this? He's a white version and a black version. The black version of him that gives Undying, right? So you just and a sack outlet. So that's the reason why he's not going on Zem. It's just for that right there is him, Solemnity, and the Undying guy. Oh, I forget his name. That's 3 cards, right? One of which is an enchantment, which is cool. So that doesn't go against the theme of the deck. The other ones are just a 6-costed creature. And he costs 6. What is his name? Maletis. It's not Maletis. He's on Innistrad. He's the Innistrad guy, right? He's not destroy non-human creatures when they destroy human creatures does combat damage to you. Destroy it. Protection from non-humans, or just non-humans have Undying. You know the card I'm talking about. But it just goes into it. Right? You sack this guy. He comes back because of Solemnity. You can't put the +1/+1 counter on him. You sack him again. He comes back. Repeat. There you go. Done and done. You win the game. He's not going in the deck just because I already have the combo lines in Narcy. I don't want to mess around with what is in there to put in 3 new cards and an entirely new combo line. That's it. That's the only reason. If I had built this deck from fresh, I hadn't built Narcy yet, and I saw this guy, I'd be like, okay, that's cool. I'll do that. I dig it. Let's see. The Luminous Broodmoth is another one with Solemnity that you can do in a sack outlet. Right? You can't get the flying counter, so you can sack them again. So those are those 2 ways to do it with this guy. So that's it. That's the last card, actually. Boop, boop, boop. So we had, Fear Lost Teeth, Victor, Inquisitive Glimmer, Ghostly Dancers, Gremlin Tamer, Entity Tracker, Bale Merkleech, Silent Hall Creeper. What a cutie, that Scrabbling Skull Crab. Optimistic Scavenger. Fear of Isolation. I don't like the mouth. I don't like his head. I don't like the mouth more than this guy's head, though. Fear of Imposters. Sarge Mage's Rescue. Shard Mage's Rescue. Nowhere to Run. That was a hard enough card to get in Abzements alone. I couldn't find a good card to put in. That deck is actually like every card does a thing in that deck. I took out Rancor, which is just you can sacrifice it for one green mana. You just loop it. But I took out Rancor for it. I just think it's an overall better card, right? By itself. That's it. That's it for part 1 of Will I Put It in My Deck, Duskmourn. Stay tuned for parts 2, where I'm going to talk about specific cycles of cards that are neat. And I love them. The one cycle I'm in love with. And then part 3, we're going to talk about doors. I like doors. I like them. Yay. So that's it. Thanks for joining. Have a good rest of your night. Stay like and subscribe as well. Do those things. Yeah. Stay tuned for more Dagic. See ya.